All right, welcome back to yet another Thursday night, and back to the US, I would say this time around. And but this case is a bit different. We will be featuring a Chinese company, but it's listed in the US stock exchange, so listed on the NASDAQ stock exchange. But the company that we will be covering tonight will be a company from China. So I think the title already gives itself up. You can see that this is a company that has something to do with video streaming, right? So we talk about, is this company actually the YouTube of China? And surprisingly, the company has actually went up by 800% ever since IPO. So of course, the question would be, 800% already, is it still a company that we should look at, or is it still a company that has a lot of growth potential up ahead? But before we actually go in deeper about today's company, Bilibili, maybe I'll ask Junbing, are you familiar with this company, and how do you come across this company, and what make this company so interesting that we chose it to be tonight's Not So Late Night Show topic?
I think majority of us might not heard of this name unless you are Chinese-speaking person that you got actually follow the variety shows of China and so on. But even though you follow the mainstream talk show, mainstream variety show and so on, you might not came across this as well, because the user that is actually interested in this platform is quite niche in a way. But then I wouldn't call it niche anymore. The entire population that's having interest in this area is growing throughout the year. So you'll be surprised how many active users they have. And then this is the reason why we have decided to take a look, and then came out with some sort of analysis and also some of the information that we plan to share tonight. I think we can start now, since I mean, we can start now, yeah.
All right, so let's go in. Right, okay. Happy to let you guys know that as mykayaplus slowly grow and then matures, and as we slowly launch more and more content, I think we have actually reached a stage where we are finally actually rolling out our subscription service. We call it the mykayaplus Premium Club. So when you join mykayaplus Premium, you actually are getting a private invitation to a Facebook group where we will actually talk about interesting discussions and share interesting information as well, right? And of course, we will actually be doing a monthly private sharing session on interesting topics as well. And of course, for those who have actually enjoyed Stock Plus 2021, stocks that we actually pick, that we actually see potential for the year 2021, and currently is up by 10%. Moving forward, all Stock Plus related content will be actually one of the key offerings for mykayaplus Premium, right? And of course, inside there will also be bi-monthly digest on ideas and investing insights that we also plan to share with you guys. There's also premium access to stock analysis. Say, for example, information that we think that if we are unable to cover in 1 hour time every Thursday, we actually will share additional information on this specific channel or club. And last but not least, for those who have attended our Dividend Gems, you actually get to know the screening criteria and the hurdles to look at good dividend stocks, but you do not have the time to actually do the screening. We will do it for you, and we will show it whether any companies that you want to know passes or fail the hurdle technology criteria actually does so in fashion or not lah. So basically, these are some of the basic information and basic offerings. It will eventually grow as well. Right. So if you are interested, do head on to the link in the comment section, which we will be posting. Right. So it's just 48 per month, or if you log in annually, it will just be 40 ringgit a month. Right. Disclaimer: companies that we will be talking today will just be for sharing purposes. It does not constitute to any buy, sell, or hold decision, right? And more so important that this is a company that is exciting but yet also high risk as well. Right. So do your due diligence, study further before you make any decision, and we wish you all the very best. Right. You would be surprised that something related to anime or cartoon will eventually appear on mykayaplus Not So Late Night Show sharing slides, right? But this company that we're going to talk about today actually finds its root back to anime and also games and also the some more comic culture that slowly actually grew in China. So this company actually tap onto that potential small growth and eventually grew into a very exciting company as it is today, right? So, of course, what is the company all about, Junbei?
Yep. So I think if you came across this website or you read some articles from China or some articles that cover the AGC, the anime games and also comics scene in China, you came across this name called Bilibili, or most of the time people will call it B Station, or in Mandarin called Bizhan, right? There's a reason why they call it Bizhan, because there's another competitor in the earlier day, start with A. So that the provider or the platform is called Azhan, right? So this is actually a video sharing platform that actually founded by this guy that we are showing into the pictures called Xu. The moment when he started this platform is purely out of interest because he is personally a huge anime fans, and then he himself wanted to actually create communities. But of course, he's not the first guy that did it. Before him, actually, the beginning of this kind of website in China is actually this website called AC Fund, or most importantly, people call it Azhan, right? So it's also run by a student, and then because the founder itself is a student, and then he's trying his best to maintain the server cost and so on, because the very beginning it's just a website to gather all the like-minded people that's having very huge interest in anime, games, or comics, to do sharing, post content, and so on. But think of it, this is like 10 to 20 years ago in a way. For you to host videos on website, all those things can be very, very expensive. So when the guy founded AC Fund, and then he actually gained a lot of traction. The only reason is because they are the first mover. Not much people in these scenes, and then all the fans, they just come into this place to post content or view content. But this guy I told you before is a student, and then he's finding difficulties to actually pay off the bill. On and off, AC Fund might have several issue. I mean, server issue. Let's say for half a day, you might scold them very badly. For example, CMB Bank down for half a day, right? But then AC Fund, when they are down, it can down for maybe weeks or even up to a month. So because of that, so this guy called Xu, he started a backup platform called Bilibili to act purely as the alternative to AC Fund or Azhan, right? And then also picking up the gaining traction and so on. But then we won't cover this in details because the entire history of Bilibili versus AC Fund is quite long, and then it's quite interesting. At first, AC Fund is the leading one, and then eventually Bizhan came in, or Bilibili came in, and then they start to take over. And then there's a few VC go into both places. So there's huge chunk of venture capitalists actually injected fund into AC Fund and also go into Bilibili. So it's a fight lah. I mean, for example, like Lazada and Shopee, they keep on fighting. Maybe we can use this as a very good example. Lazada is like the first mover in a way. Same like AC Fund. But now maybe Shopee seems like gaining more traction because maybe the people behind the scenes still pumping a lot of money lah. So the situation is kind of similar in a way. For now, Bilibili is a clear winner, but before that, they were competing very badly. But I'll pass to Jupan to share what is Nico Nico. I mean, another icon that we have put inside this slide.
Yeah, so I basically back then when the ACG culture was actually growing, AC Fund and also Nico Nico were the so-called early pioneers that actually brought anime-related stuffs to China and actually serve a very niche category of people who actually so-called form a fandom. But eventually, as things finally grow and also going through the progress and also the growth of both Bilibili and AC Fund, eventually more and more video streaming sites pop up in China, and Bilibili is actually one of the very exciting one. So to continue back the story that Chunbing left us, eventually, as a student, Xu Yi couldn't really actually handle and grow Bilibili effectively. So what happened? He had to find someone with the connection and also the funds to actually further grow Bilibili. So this was actually the turning point when Xu Yi actually accepted investment and also the leadership and guidance of a person called Chen Rui. So Chen Rui actually is a very well-known tech entrepreneur in China. So his very vast experience actually helped Bilibili a lot, from a student-founded company all the way to being a listed entity as it is. So here is a little bit of summary of Chen Rui. So when we talk about investing in growth companies, the people running the company is crucial, because you are actually betting that they actually have the so-called strength, the so-called perseverance, and also the wisdom to guide the company through. Because anyhow, this is maybe a sector that no one has actually ventured, and you really have to have a huge faith in the management. But coming back to Chen Rui, he's actually a veteran tech entrepreneur in China. He worked with Kingsoft Corporation, which is one of the big tech companies in China back then. He was in charge in the antivirus program development in Kingsoft. But after a stint there, he left and then founded his own company, Baker Internet, Beijing Security Technology Company. And then after founding that, he sold the company to Kingsoft again, right? And he also is an anime fan, and he's seeing what Bilibili and Xu Yi actually done and grew. He actually wanted to step in and help Xu Yi as well. So he joined Bilibili first as an angel investor and became a consultant, and also eventually became one of the key management of Bilibili. So what happened next, Jumbing?
Yeah, so I mean, after the fight, and then they also managed to raise funds from different big players. But when I say big player from China, it's typically either Tencent or Alibaba. So after gaining a few rounds of investment, I don't know which series they have managed to reach. Eventually, they actually went to NASDAQ and list the company to continue to get the fund from the public, and then they can continue the growth story, right? And then these things actually happening in 2019, 2 years ago, which is something that we have mentioned. It actually went up to 800% as of, I think, today's. If you take 1 month back, I think it flew up about 1,002%. But of course, there was a huge correction in tech stock in the last 2 weeks due to the slightly higher bond yield in US. So they got corrected as well. But before that, it's really, I think the historical high, they go up to 140 US per share. And then their IPO price is actually 11 US per share. So these are some of the key information that we wanted to share with you. But of course, I think this year they plan to go for another IPO in Hong Kong Exchange, which is also another exciting moment for Bilibili to get more fun to continue the growth story.
Cool. Okay. So it's still a growing company, even though going up by 800% already. So what is Bilibili business all about? So it might be well known for being one of the big video streaming platforms in China, but in fact, if you zoom deeper down in what the company is actually doing, there's actually 4 huge pillar that the company is actually running or currently embarking. So of course, the first one would be games, second one, value-added services, third, advertising, and last but not least, e-commerce. Pretty much the kind of product mix that you will see for a lot of the tech companies which are currently in China, right? So the biggest tech company like Tencent is also all four of these segments as well. But for Bilibili games, what do we actually see, and what is Bilibili actually role, and how does this vertical actually help Bilibili?
Yeah, so I think if you see that the title is how we put in, they are actually the game distributor and also publisher in China. So meaning there's some game developer will go into their platform to actually publish the game, and then let the user inside the platform to play. And most importantly, they can gain some revenue from it lah. So this is some of the key things that come in. But of course, like the image that we have shared is very much into those slightly I would say I mean more anime-ish kind of game in a way, right?
Yep. And of course, do take note that they are a game distributor and publisher. They are not a developer, so they are just mainly a middle person, basically buying or getting the license or the right of a particular game and then just pushing it to the potential players like you and me. So they have to pay some royalty and some IPs back to the developers who actually own it, right? So basically, you have to take note of that, right? So secondly, we talk about value-added services. So what are the so-called offerings or services under value-added services, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think of course they also offer membership subscription that different tier of membership come in different benefit, but I won't go into it in details. It mainly related to the exclusive content, taking out the advertisement and so on, right? So there's different tiers of subscription. And then I think another key one is actually live streaming. And then there are a lot of, I would say, content provider actually do live streaming to share the things inside this platform. And then the topic can be very niche in a way. And because of this, they are able to gather a lot of fans that's having very high stickiness to the platform, because this is something that nowhere else they can find, but they need to find it here. And lastly, also they can have access to comics. I mean, for the user, comics from different places. I mean, be it from Japan or China, local, and so on.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting way live streaming actually earn money is that you buy virtual gifts for your actually the so-called key opinion leaders that you're following.
Yeah.
So it's just basically spending real money to buy something virtual, and the platform user or owner actually takes a cut of all the virtual gifts that you actually buy to support your favorite key opinion leader. Okay, so very, very special kind of a business model. Next, of course, the normal video subscription or normal video streaming. As you can see here, this is one of the, I would say, interesting offering or interface of Bilibili, right? So if you probably watch YouTube, all the comments actually appear at the bottom part of the video. It does not actually take up the screen. But for Bilibili and some video platforms in China, they really like, they actually see it as a very fun way to have comments flying through the screen, and that's why it's called bullet comments. So it's called Tanmu. So basically, the more comments fluttering around the screen, it actually gives an impression that this video is more famous and more well-known, that everyone wants to actually be known and actually let their comments appear on the screen. So this is one of the very special way I managed to carve out some kind of recognition in a very congested video streaming platform back in China. So second one, which is advertising, which is pretty much straightforward lah. Basically, what advertising in Bilibili do. So you can see that in certain spaces and in certain positions of the website, you can see that some of it is actually ads, and if you get attracted to the ads, and this is where the so-called the companies that are interested to put advertisement will actually pay Bilibili to buy an ad space, and we as the so-called user browse through and we click on it, and the whole normal kind of advertisement mechanism comes into play as well. So when you have a website and also a high traffic one, it makes sense to also make it an advertising space. Last but not least, also one interesting but also congested space that Bilibili is into, which is e-commerce, right?
Yeah, so if you guys can read Chinese, I think this term is quite popular. They call up to. I think up stand for uploader, right? So this is the people that actually sell the stuff in here. That's why something related to e-commerce. I think I wanted to take a step back for a few slides before we talk about live stream. It's not only live stream for you to interact. I mean, for the people to interact with the fans. Besides that, also live stream on gaming and so on. So it's not the live stream like what me and Jupan is doing right now, but it can be live streaming esports games, or very niche games, and then allow the live streamer to actually interact with the fans when they're playing the games, all those things. So it's kind of interesting. And then this is something that probably Malaysia don't really have a dedicated website for it, but I think a lot of us, if you are anime fans or whatnot, maybe you go for Bilibili if you are able to speak or read Mandarin. If not, then maybe go for the Japan one and so on.
Cool. So I think that almost wraps up the entire contributing business model that currently Bilibili has, right? So pretty much similar to a lot of the tech companies that are out there in China. So you have mobile games, you have value-added services, which comprises of live streaming and also all the different kind of video contents. Of course, you have advertising there, and also last but not least, e-commerce. So you can see for the past 3 years, ever since it got listed in 2018, you can see all 4 segments have experienced high growth. So of course, mobile games, they will not be as prominent as the other mobile games that we have currently, your games from Tencent, your games from MiHoYo, right? But nevertheless, because of the very niche kind of mobile games that they are offering, which is more anime-centric based, it has managed to strike out certain kind of traction against the current crowd and current user that actually really get stuck to the so-called anime-based gaming. But other than that, coming out to a more wide-based kind of user, they slowly also venture into more value-added services, video contents. So now not only you can find anime-related stuff on Bilibili, but also documentaries, history channels, and also movies as well. So all of these are actually slowly improving and increasing the so-called different types of videos or contents that are actually available on Bilibili's platform. And of course, when you manage to pull in more and more user base into your platform, it makes sense to actually put in advertising as one of the supporting pillar in your business. And last but not least, as China slowly pivots itself to a more e-commerce kind of society, of course, there will be more and more online selling, live streaming, plus e-commerce kind of a combination. And being a video content platform like Bilibili, it also makes sense for them to actually enter into the foray. But do take note that it is very competitive. Later, we will share with you who are the so-called big players inside all of the so-called categories inside here. Right? But if you just take a step back, it's still a very interesting and very promising kind of growth company. And looking at the 2020 revenue breakdown, mobile games still takes up 40%. Value-added service slowly increasing the market share and the so-called evening the contribution, tying very closely to mobile games, becoming one of the 2 big pillars within Bilibili. And of course, you can also see that advertising and also e-commerce is also experiencing some very good growth trend for Bilibili for the past 3 years. Next, of course, when you actually take a look deeper into how an app or a platform or a platform actually works, one of the key metrics that we actually look at is the user base growth. So to make things simpler, what is actually user base growth?
Yeah, so I think the graph that we have plotted here is referring to MAU, which is monthly active user. I think by definition is within a month, at least the guy come in once in a way. So of course, people will see it from different metrics. Some people will look at DAU, which is coming coming in daily basis and so on. So ultimately, this is just a number that tie back to the how popular or how many traffic this platform managed to pull in. So I think if you see the chart itself, throughout starting 2019, if you don't see all the history data, they are still growing higher and higher. So the number we are showing here is from quarter to quarter. So it's not like something that you put out money, then you get a one-time stimulate and so on. It's a consistent. Of course, they come with some sort of with the money from the investment, they put in some benefit and so on. But of course, from a user base perspective, is still quite huge, going up slowly. But you might be arguing if you compare this user base, maybe with Douyin or internationally, you usually see it as TikTok. Maybe still got some distance, but then bear in mind this is very niche, not really niche. I mean, it's a special interest group. And then what does it mean is you typically have a higher stickiness of user, meaning people will tend to come back more often. And then this is the thing that you are interested in. The tendency of you having interest of the things come out from the advertisement, for example, can be more relevant because you're playing game, then they introduce another game. Or you're watching anime, they give you some sort of toys that's related to the animes. So all these things is more targeted, and most importantly, you can actually upsell them a lot of things. For example, ask them to actually become the member and so on. So this is very important for video platform. Of course, you also can try to relate it with YouTube because they are having a lot of long video in a way. While TikTok and so on is focusing in short video.
True. So after going through the so-called very well, I would say, synergy kind of business model. So you have a platform and then it's video based, and then you try to actually capitalize also on people who actually like anime kinds of games and also videos. So from there you build it up, and then once you have a recurring traffic, it makes sense to also add in the advertisement component and also tap onto the so-called live streaming and e-commerce kind of culture that's slowly increasing in China, right? And also we saw that all four categories were growing, and next would be to actually look at how the company is being run. So very straightforward, if a company is actually undergoing a huge, massive growth, you will see that company is very aggressive when it comes to reinvesting back into the business. And when that actually happens, you can see that the revenue will grow like crazy. So 50% growth from 2018 to 2019, and also close to 50% growth when it comes to 2020 versus 2019. So this is a company still growing at the mid-high region of double digits. And if you look at why actually it grew, straightforward, we showed you that the four verticals were actually still growing at very aggressive pace. And the second thing, of course, would be the increasing losses that the company is actually incurring. So you say that the company is actually growing sales, but why? How come you see the company actually reporting bigger and bigger losses as the years goes by? So of course, as you are still a growing company, and if there are competitions out there, you cannot really gauge or judge the company by the profit it is actually reporting. It has to actually burn more cash in terms of the sales and marketing expenses and also the R&D expenses. So you always have to reinvest in terms of sales and also research and development, so that the company can grow faster, reach out to more total addressable market, and in the end also some sort of like coming up with a potential niche or potential service that actually puts you in a stronger position compared to your competitors. And only then you can actually see that a company actually winning a very competitive scene or competitive space in China. So this has always been the strategy or methodology for high growth companies to grow in China, is to keep burning cash until you reach a certain mass or certain size. Then only you look at new verticals and also potentially becoming a venture capital like Tencent or also Alibaba. So next, if you look at how the company actually is being run or being operated in terms of the balance sheet perspective, you would see that it increased in terms of total assets, right? But the increase is always due to an increase in the intangible assets. So drilling into the intangible assets, we talk about how Bilibili actually needs to buy or incur some expenses for copyrights of contents, mobile games, and also intellectual properties. So once they actually own or actually lock into this kind of IPs, it always gets amortized at a certain period. So all of this contributes to the intangible assets and also the total assets growth. And of course, you also have the long-term assets or long-term investments that is also contributing to the increasing assets, which the company sometimes invest into businesses that are complementary to what they are currently doing, right? So it can be a comic company, it can be an anime company, which also ties back to what Bilibili main business actually does. And also you can see increase of long-term debts as well. So the company actually issue out long-term notes, which is a kind of borrowing mechanism, so that they actually borrow money from the certain financial institutions or from the mass public. And of course, by actually earning subscription membership, so it's categorized under deferred revenue. They actually collect the money straight on, so it actually increases the liabilities portion as well. So after that, you actually will go into the cash flow activities of the company. Juming, what are your first thoughts when you look at the cash flow statements? What catches your eye? What do you like about it, and what maybe you might not like about it, if there is?
Of course, I think the thing that's worrying is, I mean, not worrying. I mean, for laymen that go into financial reports, you'll see the one actually labeled in blue, supposed to be the one that actually churning the money, right? But of course, because due to the nature of this is still under very high speed, going through very high speed grow stories. So all these things remain very thin, right? So, but the key thing is it already in positive in a way, even though it's small, but bare minimum is positive. From an operating standpoint, they're not losing additional money in a way. So it's quite important. Of course, secondly, if you can see the one that got labeled in yellow, is the one that going through all the financing activities. So it's positive because they're drawing more money in through issuance of the shares and also convertibles senior notes, right? So 2020 is the aggressive year. Aggressive year, they try to pull more things so that they can grow more until it touches a point that they can start to monetize in a stronger manner, and most importantly, they can start to actually look into a serious turn, hold this thing around into a profit-making company, make this sustainable, right? And then the third one is in terms of negative in investing activities. So what does it mean, Jupan?
So it means that money is flowing out from the company. So you can see the company actually got positive, or the financing activities, the company actually collect money first. So from two measures, we talk about it, by issuing more shares. So one of the big shareholders that actually came on board was Sony lah. So that was in 2020. So they sold more shares, and Sony actually pumped in money investments to the company. Alibaba also, and then also they borrow money through senior notes. So once you get the money already, then of course something have to happen to the money, right? So it actually gets reinvested to the business. So the company actually pump money into purchase of investments and also placement into time deposits. So time to time, when the company deem it's time to actually utilize this money to spend on something, be it improvement, purchase of plant, equipment, or even doing merger and acquisition. So that's where you actually see negative outflow in the cash flow from investing activities. So from here straightforward, you can see that good thing, cash flow from the operations is actually positive. The company is not burning money in terms of operating standpoint of view, but the company needs to grow. So if the company does not have the money generated from the business, then the money has to come from borrowing and also rights issue or additional issuance of shares. So this is actually the main scenario which is happening to Bilibili currently from. So you can see also one of the key prospects is that apart from anime, you can see that Bilibili also is slowly venturing into a lot of other segments as well, right? So of course, some of you have also noted that Bilibili is also not only just in anime, but also into movies, dramas, live streaming, documentary, a lot of it. So it becomes more and more diverse and more choices to the wider ability targeted consumer and targeted viewer as well. But okay, also one thing would be the management of the company. Maybe Chun-Ming, you want to take this one. Who are the bigger shareholders within Bilibili Inc.?
I think that the top two guys is the second guy is actually called Xu Yi, the founder, and then Chen Rui is the one that came in as the angel investor. Then eventually he moved from just the investor itself to consultant of the company, and eventually he became the guy to run the company together with Xu Yi, right? So all this is director and executive officers, right? I mean the top part. I think the one that actually should grab your attention is those come from, I mean, they call it the principal shareholders. So you can see there's a few key guys, I mean, or the few key names. One of it is actually Tencent. And surprisingly, you are seeing Alibaba is in as well. So usually in China, it's either one. I mean, when Alibaba is in, they wanted to build this under the Alibaba empire. Then Tencent, on the other hand, tried to build an empire. Usually, you will see two. For example, food delivery, you'll see one actually in the earlier stage, maybe backed by Alibaba, and then another one actually backed by Tencent. In some industry, it might be three backed by Baidu. So all these things, but typically it's a fight between Tencent and Alibaba. Bizan or Bilibili is the weird one that managed to draw the investment from both of them. But Alibaba is technically the slightly later comer. They just did the whole thing, I think, last year, right? So, which also means that the two tech giant in China is actually having a very, I mean, they see this as a very good prospect, having a lot of growing potential. That's why they are in.
True. But of course, even though having good management and also two very strong backer from the China internet scene, it doesn't mean that Bilibili will be safe, right? Later we'll talk about the threats or the so-called competition or risks that Bilibili might be facing and who are the big boys that they are coming against with head-to-head. But apart from that, what are the other so-called companies like prospective Bilibili investors might actually also be aware of if you look at the so-called list of internet or social apps in China here?
So I think this one is in general, but then I think it's very interesting, right? I think for you and me, you will think that actually WeChat should be the default application for China chatting app. It's like WhatsApp in China with much more features in it. You're supposed to spend most of the time there because you work there. I mean, you are working, information will exchange there, and then you also can text your family and so on. But in the screen time, actually in China, Douyin is actually the leader. Bilibili is slightly more than WeChat. So this is the reason why we are trying to tell you this is something very important if you talk from a platform perspective. The very high stickiness, and most importantly, they can capture your attention for a very long time. So, I mean, catching attention is easy. Something breaking news, you just suddenly go and download the app and go and watch it. For example, Clubhouse being very popular in the last 1 month or 2 months. But people go inside there active. I think they'll still be active over there. But then, all in all, the whether they are able to hit the screen time like what Bilibili, Douyin, or even WeChat can do, I think it's questionable in a way, because for example, Clubhouse, maybe at the earlier day, because of the popularity or something that actually brought up by Elon Musk, a lot of people go in and try. But for video platform, all those things, it's all about whether you can do this consistently, because this will assure you with the return of your advertisement related revenues, and also your membership revenues and so on. So this is some of the things to share. It's a mix of everything. So a lot of people are trying to catch your attention. I mean, in China alone, you got the short video leaders, Douyin, and also the rival, which is Kuaishou, which got listed in Hong Kong Exchange, I think months ago. Then you got the long video, which is Bilibili, and also Netflix equivalent in China called iQIYI, and so on, also drawing a lot of attention. And then, of course, your social app WeChat in China. And lastly, you also can see Taobao, Tmall also draw a lot of attention. People are actually scrolling and look for deals and buy things. So this is some of the stuff that actually happening in China. Worth your attention if you are interested in investing in China stocks.
So we talk about in China is really very competitive. It's a winner takes it all market, right? So here you can see we talk about how Bilibili is growing at four verticals. But at every vertical you see strong competitors, right? Apart from advertisements, where it depending on the user traffic, most of the huge platforms also have advertisement as one of their key supporting revenue generators. But e-commerce, you can see that you are going actually head to head with Taobao and also JD.com, Jingdong. And also, if you talk about just growing within the video streaming content, of course, there are not lack of competitors. It's just purely streaming, and also what I say, user generated content. Right, you have Douyu and also Huya, right? So Douyu and Huya both are also owned by Tencent. So it doesn't mean that Tencent supports Bilibili. You are well assured that the money or the investment will still keep coming. Right, you still have to fight, go head to head against Douyu and Huya, who will be merging. But what about Tencent Video and also iQIYI, which is more on the PGC point of view, Chunbei?
Yeah, so I think Tencent Video and iQIYI is more like that. I mean, if you wanted to relate it, it's Netflix of China in a way. Of course, I would say iQIYI have gained a lot of attention. They managed to produce their own variety shows, their own drama, and so on. Tencent, on the other hand, also have a lot of drama coming in. If you guys are still watching TVB drama, I'm not sure whether you guys did or not. Some of the recent drama which have a lot of budget, or the key drama of the year is actually come from the collaboration between Tencent Video and also the TVB to go inside here. So right, so this is the part that all about live streaming and video. On the other hand, this is the two app that draw the most attention from the China citizen. or the China user, which is Douyin and also Kuaishou. This is the short video platform that allow a lot of people to create interesting content easily. So they give you template. If you guys are in TikTok, then you will know they allow you to do with a lot of funny and very interesting thing. And then you can actually create the content and then post it out. And then for users, it's quite simple. You just swipe up, there'll be a new video coming in, and then you can keep on swiping up. But of course, short video is just one thing. They also have live stream. Live streaming is really big in China. Everything is about live stream. You wanted to sell something, you do live stream. You wanted to sell your service, you do live stream. You wanted to teach people something, you do live stream. You wanted to run your tuition, as in run a tuition center, teaching all the kids on all the something to do with homework, you also do live stream. So it's all about live stream in China. It's really, really big. And then all these players are trying to compete in this space. And the live stream is really something very, very impressive. They can do a lot of things within the live stream. You can give virtual gift. If you guys really have time and then you know how to read Mandarin, you should try and figure them out. You'll find out, wow, this totally different level. Not the live stream that you're seeing right now in YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, totally different level. And then lastly is the two e-commerce giant that is in China. Of course, there are a few more like Pinduoduo and so on. So all these guys are catching or try to compete for the attention of China user. And then, but I mean, personally, I see Bilibili slightly differently because regardless, this is slightly niche. They are not going against one of them because their thing can be very niche, focusing in anime or even comic contents. So this thing, most of these guys won't do. So they have something in place. Maybe they cannot hit as high as Douyin and so on in terms of daily active user or whatnot. But then their niche is there and then will be there. And of course, more and more people coming in, younger people and so on. Those are the people that got influence or have interest in this culture. This is all the things that make me have, I mean, for me, I think there are a lot of growing prospect within the company itself.
Yeah, absolutely agree. When you talk about live streaming becoming a trend already in China, I think it's just questions that when will live streaming become more prevalent in Malaysia and Singapore? We never know, right? But if it does happen, then you will never know that which are the internet companies currently that are actually going to be the so-called beneficiaries when that kind of culture actually comes in or creeps in. So talking about valuation of the company, this is the company that your traditional metrics of valuation will not work, does not have earnings, so no PE ratio. Of course, the share price is very well ahead of the actual fundamental or the actual results that the company is locking in. So you can see that it has always run ahead in terms of the price to sales ratio. Previously only 8 times PS ratio, and now as of now it's already 20 times, right? So no earnings, so no PE. And of course, in terms of the cash flow point of view, this company is still burning cash. It's just still trying to spend more money to grow. If your share price run ahead, of course, the price to cash flow ratio does not even make sense as well. So it's 300 plus. And of course, valuating the company based on the net asset and also calculating the price to book ratio is also bollocks, right? Doesn't make sense. So when you actually come across this kind of companies where the traditional metrics of the valuation method does not make sense, you actually really have to do a more qualitative kind of analysis of the company. These are all quantitative things you want to measure in terms of numbers. But when you come across companies that are high growth, they are still spending crazy shitloads of money to grow, it becomes a qualitative standpoint of view. How big, how fast can the company grow? What is the so-called total prospects in the future that actually awaits the market? And based on that kind of growth rate and that kind of eventual kind of target that the company aims to hit, what will be the eventual kind of profitability or growth size that a company is going to hit? Then from there only you can deduce that, yeah, even though it's still a loss-making company, even though I cannot use PE to ascribe a certain valuation of the company, but it still makes sense probably based on this kind of judgment, based on this kind of assumption. And of course, if you are very unsure, you don't need to actually put in a whole big lump sum of money into the company. You can actually invest in batches, and as the time goes by, if you see some promising results and promising improvements, then you can also further top up your investments. At the end of the day, what we want to actually be certain of is that you don't actually lock in a huge amount of company to a potentially losing horse. If the race is quite tight, you can actually just bet the bid on it, and then if things improve, then only you add in more investments to a particular company, especially companies like Bilibili, where it's really hard to value based on the traditional metrics of the company, right? Of course, the company has gone up like mad ever since its listing. So Chun Bing, what do you think? Is the correction something of an opportunity for us to actually look deeper to a company that can still grow, judging that the so-called business vertical is still quite very promising?
I think very subjective. It depends on how you see it. If you are having very high expectation on all these things will come more and more in the future, then probably this is a very good opportunity. On the other hand, this few days, not in this few days, I mean these few weeks, in NASDAQ alone is quite volatile. You might not know. If you guys got follow Tesla, you know it go up and actually go back down again. Then yesterday or the day before, actually shoot back up. So it's a crazy roller coaster ride. So I think all these things is the thing they need to get prepared when you are actually decided to invest into it. Is it going to be crazy in a way? I mean, up down 5% is a very rare case. When it have the real up and down, it will be 20, 10, 15, and 20. But like it or not, I think Bilibili is not the only share that behave this way. There's more than maybe most of you guys heard of it. It's actually Sea Limited, the company that owns Shopee, and a lot more company actually having a very similar trend like this. All the tech stock, people having a lot of expectation on that.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, expectation is one thing, but it is our job and our duty as a retail investor who practice value investing to actually look deeper to see what are the so-called promising prospects that awaits the company, and will the current price as of today be a good price if you were to look back 5 to 10 years down the road. So that is the questions that always spark us as value investors. And of course, when it comes to companies like this, it always bounces back to a more qualitative kind of aspect rather than a quantitative kind of aspects. So I think we are slowly reaching to the end of the company or the sharing. Of course, for you guys who still don't know what to invest or don't know what stocks to look at for 2021, we are actually coming to an end for Q1 of 2021. If you still find some difficulty into stocks that actually are potential for 2021, then of course you can actually consider 2021 Stock Plus and comes with stocks, 10 stocks that we actually put some of us actually put money into these companies already. We'll share with you what is the risk and what is also the prospects of the company. And as of February, it has been up by 10%. Right. So if you still don't know what to invest, you want to invest for a long term, you can consider some of the companies that we have covered for 2021 Stock Plus. Of course, we would also like to extend our gratitude to those who actually sign up for the first batch of the Dividend Gems. So hopefully the sharing last weekend was something beneficial, a kind of skill that you can actually replicate and utilize for the rest of your lifetime to find good dividend stocks that will pay you repeating and always recurring kind of income until the end of the days. And of course, the next intake would be somewhere in June. But if you are interested, you can actually leave us a comment or leave us a message and let us know. We will actually get in touch with you with more information. And of course, that wraps up sharing on Bilibili Inc. Do you actually like the company? And do you think that this could actually be the next up and coming YouTube of China, and you are actually interested in this company? Or if you have any other questions about this company, let us know in the comments. We will actually be heading to the comment sections to take on your questions, whether it's regarding Bilibili or regarding the entire stock market for the past few days. Right. Oh, so I think not many questions for today. Today is more subtle kind of sharing. Yeah, but I think we almost covered a lot of the stuffs. Yeah, Bilibili is not just only very niche right now. It's also looking towards other kind of content. So movies, dramas, anime, live streaming, documentary, Discovery Channel, National Geographic, that kind of genre of content is also available, right? So when it becomes more diversified, it becomes easier to pull in more traffic and more user base as well, right? So I think while we wait for more questions, if we do not have any questions, you actually go on or go off sharp by 10 p.m. If you do have any questions, you can actually let us know in the comment section. But I will ask Junbing, of all the so-called up and coming tech companies in China, what are the so-called different aspects when you quantify or compare tech companies in China versus tech companies in the US? What is the difference, and what makes China tech companies actually so interesting to look at?
I think from a layman perspective, you will always see China application is very popular within China mainland, and then they didn't go out to international markets. So you think, yeah, they have a lot of people's population is big, but it's constrained or limited to area within China. Maybe can expand to Hong Kong, Taiwan only, right? But you think of it, imagine all these things getting matured, and then they start to push all these things out to the international markets. The potential is really, really big. For example, TikTok, right? So TikTok have a little bit of stories. I mean, they actually acquired a very famous platform. I don't know from which Western country called musical.ly. Then they turn holding around and then have a lot of traction within China. They build the whole thing really, really well. Then they start to actually export this solution or these products abroad. Why is this is so different? This is a product that actually validated by tons of people in China. It got to be good. Regardless, it got to be good. It won't have stupid bugs. It got to have some unique proposition. So when it go out and then people actually like their things, then this is the real value of a China stocks. But of course, not a lot of them are having this kind of thing right now. But there's a few things that you can take note of. I mean, of course, for example, electric vehicles, they also have a few players. All this is the potential that they're coming in from China. But nevertheless, for us, we are like multi-racial country, then we are exposed to all this kind of culture. So it's an opportunity for us to look into all these kind of potential company around the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think so far how KayaPlus actually grew was from Malaysia all the way to Singapore, and as of this year, I think we made a pledge earlier this year to cover stocks from US and also from Hong Kong stock market, or also eventually stocks just listed in the mainland China market as well. So investing is global. Now that you cannot travel, the least you can do is actually put your money onto great companies that are, outside our home comfort zone, which could be Malaysia or Singapore. And of course, the companies so far that we are also interested to cover also gets, highlighted or listed or shortlisted to become the topics of Not So Late Night Show. But if it actually becomes a very good opportunity or good criteria that fits into your risk appetite, these kind of high growth companies, do further studies, and of course, we wish you all the best if it actually fits your bill and criteria of a good kind of growth company to invest in. But if no, of course, there are also other interesting yield companies or dividend paying companies out there that you can also consider into your portfolio, right? Just make sure that you do your due diligence and invest in the kind of company or investments that are well suited for your appetite and your risk profile, right? I think if that's not all, we'll actually see you soon next week. You can let us know in the comment section what kind of companies that you want us to touch base on. Should we cover back a company based in Malaysia that is also in the news headline as of lately, or you want us to actually cover another tech company in the US? So let us know in the comment section. We will actually shortlist the prospective funds, and we will see you soon as always, every Thursday 9 to 10 p.m. on Not So Late Night Show by Kaya Plus. See you soon next week. Bye bye.